Every gardener has a pile of dry leaves somewhere, the crispy, stubborn leftovers from pruning or autumn cleanup that just won't seem to break down. They sit there, bone dry, refusing to rot even after months in a compost heap. But what if I told you there's a simple liquid blend you can pour right over those leaves that transforms them into rich, living compost in record time? No waiting half a season. No endless turning, just a biological jump-start that wakes your compost pile overnight. This trick has become one of my go-to garden hacks, and once you try it, you'll never let another leaf go to waste again. Dry leaves are compost gold, but only if you wake them up. Most gardeners don't realize that dry leaves are one of the most carbon-rich materials available for composting. You know, dry leaves contain lignin, cellulose, and natural waxes that make them incredibly valuable for building soil structure and long-term fertility. The problem is that those same compounds make them resistant to decay. On their own, dry leaves decompose painfully slowly because they're just too carbon-heavy and, well, too dry for microbes to function efficiently. To turn them into compost fast, you have to wake up the biology. That means moisture, nitrogen and microbes all in balance. When leaves stay dry, microbes can't move or feed, so decomposition grinds to a halt. But once you introduce the right mix of nutrients and moisture, the microbial population explodes, and the carbon in those leaves becomes food. That's where the pour-over compost activator comes in. This isn't some store-bought product. It's a natural brew that combines microbial inoculants, nitrogen, and simple sugars to feed both bacteria and fungi. The formula is easy and, honestly, incredibly effective. Mix 1 part unsulfured molasses, 1 part worm tea or finished compost extract, and 10 parts non-chlorinated water. If you don't have worm tea, you can use compost leachate, or even just soak a handful of finished compost in a bucket of water for 24 hours, giving it a stir now and then. Now, if you fancy a stronger nitrogen kick, just add a tablespoon of fish emulsion, or, you know, a cup of fresh manure tea. Once everything's mixed together, what you've got is what I like to call a microbial starter broth. It's a living elixir, really, jump-starting decomposition, just like a sourdough starter wakes up a batch of dough. When you pour this liquid over dry leaves, it delivers everything decomposition needs to get going. There's moisture for those microbes to move about, nitrogen to balance all that carbon, and of course living organisms eager to colonize the pile. Within 24 hours, the temperature in the pile begins to rise, signaling microbial activity. That's the moment when your leaves stop being debris and start becoming soil. To get the best effect, shred your dry leaves first using a mower or trimmer. Smaller pieces mean more surface area for microbes to attack. Then layer the leaves about 8 to 10 inches deep on your compost pile or in a trench if you're doing in-ground composting. Pour the activator evenly across the surface until the leaves are thoroughly damp but not dripping. Think of a wrung-out sponge. Right? So a good ratio to follow is 1 gallon of activator for every 2 cubic feet of leaves. For larger piles, you'll want to make several batches and apply them in layers. After about 24 hours, just check the pile. If it feels warm in the centre, well, you've got activity. Turn it lightly with a fork to aerate, and if it feels a bit too dry, just add another light pour of activator. You'll start to notice, probably quite soon, the colour of the leaves darken and their texture soften within days. By the end of the first week, the pile will have transformed into a moist, earthy mass crawling with worms and fungal threads. It's not magic, it's biology in overdrive. Dry leaves alone are about 60 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen, far too imbalanced for microbes to multiply efficiently. The pour-over solution corrects this instantly, creating an ideal 25 to 1 to 30 to 1 carbon to nitrogen ratio. The molasses fuels bacterial reproduction. The compost tea seeds the pile with beneficial decomposers, and the fish emulsion provides nitrogen for rapid growth. This combination turns a dormant pile into a biological furnace. Unlike synthetic activators or chemical fertilizers, this liquid compost booster doesn't shock the ecosystem. It collaborates with it. The microbes you're introducing are native and self-regulating, which means they'll work quickly but won't destabilize your soil when you later use the compost. Once you see how effective this process is, you can make it part of your garden routine. I keep a 5-gallon bucket of compost activator on standby during leaf season. Every time I rake or collect leaves, I give them a light pour before storing them in bins or under a tarp. You can also use the same activator as a soil drench or foliar spray. It promotes microbial diversity in your beds and helps break down any organic mulch on the surface. Your leaves are not waste. They're your soil's future. When you understand that every leaf carries the nutrients your plants need, you stop seeing them as something to bag and toss. The secret is unlocking what's already there, and this simple pour-over method does exactly that. With a few basic ingredients and a bucket, you can turn what most people throw away into black gold almost overnight. Serious gardeners know that the real work of growing happens below the surface. This method just gives nature the jump it needs to get there faster. The next time you see a pile of dry leaves, don't let them sit lifeless. Pour life back into them and watch your garden thank you with growth, vigour and resilience that lasts all season long. If this guide helped you, make sure to subscribe to Gentle Herb Living, share it with your gardening friends, and keep exploring these quiet, powerful methods that make your garden thrive naturally. The smallest changes often lead to the biggest harvests.